Yippee! We are doing this. I hope it sounds good. If not, we're still gonna roll with it because I changed my mic like 3 times. Okay, let's just dive right into it. My dogs are snoring so loud and I don't care, we're still recording this. Hey everyone, my name is Alexis with Alexis Reads, and yes, I am new to Booktube, so I definitely want to do the Booktube newbie tag. I don't know if people are doing it or not, but I'm going to do it, because why not? So why did you start this channel? Just like many other booktubers, it's just to, build community. I do want to meet folks. Honestly, for me personally, I just can't get all my thoughts down there. I love writing on Bookstagram because it's a tool, just an exercise for me. Writing's never been my strongest suit, but I just like to practice, just doing it just because. And but I cannot get all of my thoughts down. So hence why I wanted to start this channel. I am 31. My perspective is from an adult perspective, and I do like a variety of different types of books. I will read anything. The reason why I'm just gonna do things I love. It's not about popular books, it's not about any of that. If there's a book recommendation that I think I would enjoy, I will read it, but I'm not just going to pick up something just to do it, just to make a video. I'm just doing this so I can ramble about books. And the fun thing would be personality and the types of books I might read. They may be popular, they may not be as popular, but I just, that's what I'm gonna bring to BookTube. Hey, what are you most excited for about this new channel? This is really, again, just a chance to get just reactions and thoughts about books. Yes, I am a big fantasy reader, but I read a lot of different types of books. And so I'm excited to meet new people so I can get more book recommendations. As long as I think I will enjoy it, I will definitely read it. Why do you love reading? I do love to, my dog is dramatic right now. Nene, and you're not even asleep. Why do you love reading? It is because it is a chance. Let me go back. Why do I love reading? It is about definitely escape. Like, you can definitely get away. I'm not trying to escape anything, but I just love being in different worlds, which is probably why I love fantasy so much. I really love reading because as a kid, I didn't like reading as much. It was actually pretty difficult for me just because I couldn't focus on anything. Focus on the books that were presented in front of me until I found something that I love. So I love reading because it does bring a different world, just going into an alternate universe, and it's something that was a struggle for me, and now I absolutely love and enjoy, and I'm really good at it. What book or series got you into reading? I think there is a couple of different moments. I do specifically remember the clear moment where I was like, oh, this is really enjoyable. Was in 5th grade, the series of unfortunate events. I just remember that was the first time I remember not being able to put a book down. That's a clear, I have to keep on reading this book. Do you remember not having book, I don't know, there's so many of those series, but it was book 6 or 7 I didn't have, and it kind of threw me off, so I didn't continue to read it because I couldn't get to the series. Think about it today, there's access to books through online, and we just couldn't do that. You had to go physically to a bookstore, so I wasn't able to do that at that time, and I just didn't continue reading. But another turning point for me was the Inherited series by Christopher Poloni. So that's Aragon, Eldest, those type of books, but Aragon is the first book. So Aragon probably is the one that got me into reading deeply. I fell in love with reading, then I would constantly pick up books. I also did not know that I loved fantasy books until honestly I started Bookstagram, which was a year ago. I didn't realize, I know I'm an adult. I did not realize that I constantly picked up fantasy books. So Aragon was my first one that said I loved books, and that series made me fall in love. And then after that it was constant fantasy book, not knowing that was the case. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I would just ask, you're creating these videos, is it reaction? Did you just finish it? And is a reaction is something you already read? And sometimes I can tell from some booktubers, but sometimes I can't. And then also just your favorite joy about BookTube. What is it that you absolutely do? What is it that you love? Is it that sense of community? Is it making videos? Is it editing? Or is it the numbers that you like to see? I'm just doing it just because, but I love hearing other people's reasoning behind it, especially those who now it's making it into like a legit content creating career. So I love seeing the different forms of just people jumping on like me and people making it a content creating like career. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Probably consistency, I guess. I'm not sure. I did want to start it before, and I actually just jumped on it. I didn't wait that long. Once I decided, you know what, I want to talk way more about my books. I watched a few videos, and I was intimidated because I thought you had to have the high-tech cameras and things like that. But for me, just doing it so I can ramble, I have a really good iPhone, so why not put it to use? Use an iPhone. I did get a mic. We'll see how this works. And I already have a ring lamp, so bam. That was the challenge I thought I was going to have. So now that I've overcame that, maybe a little bit of editing, but there's so many great tools. But maybe consistency, just to make sure I'm just recording my thoughts right away without being a perfectionist. I don't consider myself a true perfectionist. I really don't. But I do have moments of like, oh man, like it's not really the greatest, so I'm maybe not doing it. So let's just roll with it. Like just when I'm recording this, I was like, the first time my mic was like terrible. I had to redo it, and I was literally gonna stop. And I was like, you know what, we're rolling with it. Dogs are snoring, almost had a coughing fit. I wanted to find my Skittles, I couldn't find it. And we're gonna do it anyway. So we'll see how this first video comes out. So just doing it. When did you start reading? I started reading when I was really young. My grandmother and my mother are both avid readers, so books were always in the house, definitely different types of books. So it was there, but I also had a big gap, maybe like others, a big gap where I did not want to read. I didn't find it interesting. I didn't know the books that I liked as well. And then there was a time period where, I played sports throughout college, so basketball in particular. So basketball did take up a lot of my time. So downtime was usually like sleeping. So there was a gap. I did not like to read. So I picked it back up in high school, got to college, and it's all the college assignments. And when it was the season and doing schoolwork, I honestly did not read during college time. In the summertime, I'll pick it up every now and then. So different time periods. I started early, but had these different gaps. And as I became an adult, I started reading more and making that time out of my schedule to read, and fell in love also with audiobooks. Maybe that'll be a different video because I love audiobooks. I want to get people's thoughts about their thoughts, and do they read audiobooks? Do you all read audiobooks? Where do you read? I usually read on my couch. It has the most sunlight. I do have a den, which my family calls a therapy room. I have a really nice couch on there, or a chair. Actually, one of the chairs I'm sitting on, I have 2 more of these in there. So it's super comfortable. I like to read there in the evening when the sun's like down, but most of the time when the sun's up, love reading in my living room it's really bright. I also have a sunroom, but that's where I work at, and I do not like to read where I work. I need to keep those 2 things separate. What kind of books do you like to read? I already said this already. Fantasy books. I love fantasy books, but that is not the only type of books I read. I will actually realizing that I really like romance books too. My favorite combo is definitely like the adult fantasy romance. Like if it has splashes of or if it has romance in it, I love it. I am for the Smith. I am for all of that too. So I actually love fantasy and romance. I will read a YA. I'm not always reading YA, but I definitely have a decent chunk of YA. I love graphic novels. There's a couple of things that I really, really enjoy. So definitely a variety, but I would have to say fantasy with romance. So, high fantasy romance, definitely romance book. But anything, the epic, the high fantasy, that's what I love. And then give me some romance, give me all the stuff, give me spice. I love the spice. Give it all that to me. But definitely fantasy would be my number 1, and then romance would be number 2. I did not realize there was another question, which includes what's on your bookshelf or what does your book collection looks like? That's what the question is. My book collection consists of the fantasy books and romance books, but I also have several spirituality and religious books. I have a couple self-help books. I have a lot of
art history books because that's actually was my major in high school, and I actually had a 7-year career in the art museum field. So I have tons of art history books as well, random history books. So maybe that's a different video where I show you all my bookshelf collection. It's not huge, but it's a nice, small, decent one that I would love to have a separate video on.
All right, so this is the Booktube newbie tag. I'm Alexis with Alexis Reads. You can follow me on Instagram too. Hopefully you all join me on this ride on Booktube and just come with me to ramble about books. Why not? All right, until my next video. Bye.